Hey, welcome to Life in the Leadership Lane. I'm your host, Bruce Waller, where I get to talk to leaders that are making a difference in the workplace and in our community. What did they do to get started? And what are they doing to stay there? And oh my goodness, here we are. We are in July, right in the middle of our HR Southwest Conference Speaker Spotlight Series. And I'm bringing you another special guest. And today I'm getting to talk with April Minatrea. April is, well, she's one of our HR Southwest Conference speakers. She has spent 20 plus years in psychology, and I cannot wait to talk about the HR Southwest Conference. How you doing, April?
I am fantastic and happy to be here today.
Oh
Thanks,
my
Bruce.
goodness, we were talking offline. I'm in Dallas, Texas. Now, where are you coming out of?
I am currently in Nashville, but
Nashville, Tennessee. Oh my God.
yeah.
So I have a list of all these different places I want to visit, and Nashville's one of them. Can you believe I have not been to Nashville, Tennessee, but I'm going to be going before long. So I'm
I,
excited
I
about that.
I think it's a great place to visit. There's
Yeah,
plenty to do, see, and hear. So
I
yes,
love it.
come and avail yourself.
I love it. And I know we're going to talk about your Texas roots as well, because we'll kind of kick this off. And again, you're going to be speaking at the 85th. Can you believe it? The 85th HR Southwest Conference started 85 years ago. You are going to be speaking not once, but twice. You have a pre-conference session, and that is around reclaim your A game, overcoming leadership injury. We're going to talk a little bit about that. But then you're going to come back and you're going to share another session, a breakout around heavenly chocolate. That, first of all, that got my attention. And the subtitle is Transforming Your Self-Talk. I really want to get into that. I cannot wait to get into that. But before we do any of that, I would love for you to share the April Minatry story. Like, where did you grow up? And how in the world did you get into psychology? And now you're doing all this speaking across the country. Talk a little bit about that.
So I grew up in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, so getting
Oh,
to come back to the Metroplex is near and dear to my heart.
love it.
And I got my start in psychology, you could say, when I was 8 years old. I wrote
Hmm.
my first psychology paper in third grade.
Oh my goodness.
And so it was an interest from an early age. I was just interested in kind of how people think, what makes them tick, all of that kind of thing. And I carried that interest. I followed that through high school. I think my guidance counselor, I had said I wanted to be a psychologist as a
Wow.
teenager. Followed that to Texas A&M, where I did my undergrad, and then on to the University of Kansas, where I did my
Hmm.
PhD in clinical psychology. Interestingly, that is where they founded the Hope Lab, where they do research on hope and positive psychology, which turned out to be something that really has become a thread through a lot of what I speak on and the work that I do now. But also, while I was at KU, I got an email that essentially changed the trajectory of my career.
Hmm.
I was at a spot where I had kind of finished with my clinical hours, all of the classes that I needed to take and teach. And I was really just looking for a job while I was, running my dissertation and preparing for internship. And I got an email saying, hey, they're looking for somebody to do testing over at the VA. And I
Hmm.
was like, well, I don't know how to do neuropsych testing, but I bet it would look really good on my internship application.
Yes.
And so call it serendipity, call it divine appointment. I managed to get a job there. They said, we'll hire you with the one test you know, we'll teach you the rest on the job.
Wow.
And that was how I started working with warriors. And that has been a thread throughout the last 20 plus years. I
Hmm.
started off working across the table from World War II veterans,
Hmm.
and then sat with some folks who had served in Vietnam, and then eventually the guys who were coming back from Iraq and Afghanistan. And I love
Wow.
that work so much that even after I left the VA, I continued to have that as an emphasis in my private practice,
Yeah.
which I was in private practice for 10 years in South Lake. They're right down the road from you.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
that was a joy. And I saw people from all walks of life. So I
Mm.
saw,
Yeah.
executives and entrepreneurs and different types of people, but I had an emphasis in that time really on working with combat veterans. And so I walked with them, you know, through trauma, and really transition was also a
Mm.
big piece of it. Both of those were important. And then I went through a transition of my own.
Hmm.
I felt called to go to
Okay.
ministry school.
Hmm.
And so I closed the private practice, moved across the country to California,
Hmm.
and began an adventure And I've been on an adventure ever since.
Hmm.
And during that time, it gave me an opportunity to really explore at a deeper level these layers of personal development and leadership development. And
Hmm.
so that really kind of sparked some interest that I've dug deeper into over the last several years and continued down that path. And so I no longer do counseling, but now
Hmm.
I do more executive coaching.
Hmm.
And I've gone from that a, a lot of my work at that time, most of my work was really the one-on-one, right? That
Hmm.
deep work. And I still appreciate that. And I still do a tiny piece of it through executive coaching. But now I also am a speaker. So I get to do one-to-many, which
Love
is
that.
tremendous program development and things like that, because I'm interested in multiplying impact. And that's something that I've had the pleasure
Oh.
of
Oh.
learning from my dad who taught me his philosophy of leadership is the exponential mindset. So we've done some fantastic things in collaborating and and that's been kind of the journey to get to this place where now, regardless of how I'm doing it, my emphasis is on sharpening leaders from the inside out and
Hmm.
building healthy, happy leaders who are able to help others become the same.
This is so good. I have chills. I have chills,
Oh,
April.
fantastic.
This is so good. I wrote down, I've already got a full page of notes and we just started. I wrote down third grade. You knew what you wanted to do. And that was very interesting because my daughter always wanted to be a nutritionist, like
Mm,
from the time she was young. And today she's a nutritionist. I mean, she just
there
knew
you
what,
go.
and that's very uncommon. Most people don't know. They say they fell into something. I
Hmm.
fell into relocation and then I fell into speaking. But you knew what you want. I love that, number one. But here's another, and I wrote down so many things, but the thing I wanted to mention here was multiplying impact. Like I love that. And it also goes along with, I wrote a book years ago called Find Your Lane.
Mm,
And since then, I've gone on this journey around purpose. And I was thinking about these different lanes. You find your lane, then you own your lane, then you expand your lane. But then there's a lane after that, and you multiply your lane. And that made me think about you because you're wanting to like multiply your impact. And I just love that. And I know that you're doing that on the speaking circuit. And I'm excited to jump in here. So let's talk about this HR Southwest conference. Now, first of all, have you spoke before at the HR Southwest conference?
not at the HR Southwest conference.
Okay,
This will be
this is your
my
first.
first time at
Yes.
this particular conference. Yes.
And of course, not first time in Fort Worth because you were in South Lake before, but I am excited that to have you there. You're going to really, really enjoy this, especially celebrating 85 years. There's going to be so much. I'm sure you'll probably get to see the mini cows and all of that kind of stuff. But let's talk about a couple of things. Number one, there are a couple of pre-conference workshops, and you have one of them. And so, hats off to you for being able to do that, and we appreciate you doing that. But it's called Reclaim Your A Game: Overcoming Leadership Injury. If you want to register for the conference, of course, you can go to hrsouthwest.com. But the pre-conference workshop, you'll have to pay additional for that. Talk a little bit, just an overview. I would love for you to share for the listeners if they wanted to go ahead and register for that pre-conference. What should they expect?
I think understanding leadership injury, first of all, just what is that? It's a
Yeah.
new term for a lot of
Yes.
people, but coming from the place, this idea that almost everyone's been hurt by a leader.
Okay.
And we're not just talking about our bosses, right? If we look at leadership across the lifespan, that includes parents, teachers, coaches, pastors. I'm not sure any of us get through life unscathed.
Right.
And yet we're going to look at that through the lens of our leadership story
Okay.
and understanding what character or what role we're playing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So am I a victim? Have I been a victim of leadership injury? And if so, how do I take the hero's journey to overcome
Mm.
that?
Mm.
And then recognize, by the way, once I become the leader, I'm no longer the hero of the story. I'll
Mm.
either be the villain in someone else's story,
Okay.
or I'll be the guide who draws out the hero in others. And so we're going to
Ooh.
look at it through that framework and really help people learn not only that healing process, get an overview of that, and maybe even take some steps toward healing for those who have experienced, but also give people a grid and a framework that they can use as they're guiding other people to overcome the pain of the past, and then be able to be those healthy, happy leaders who
Mm,
serve others well and multiply impact, as you said, by becoming the guide who brings out the hero in others, raises up other guides, right, who do the
mm,
same, and that's how it multiplies. And so I'm excited about that session. I think it's going to be really powerful
yeah.
to be able to help people on that journey. And I think it's so relevant for HR because when a leadership injury occurs, there is a high likelihood it's going to end up in your office. And so I think these are skills that, everybody can benefit from that process themselves, but to be able to heal and rise and then raise others, I think is a really exciting opportunity.
Let's see. That would be on
It's on
Sunday, the
Sunday.
11th.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's a
Okay.
it's and so that was one of the things Aaron did brilliantly. They changed the conference schedule. I
Yeah.
think last year was the
Right.
first time that they had this new schedule starting it on
Yes.
Sunday, and apparently it worked really well for
Yeah.
people. So if you
Yeah.
want to come spend Sunday afternoon learning
Be
about
in
your
ministry
leadership
with April.
story, yes,
I
yes,
love that.
come spend that Sunday afternoon. I think it sets up a foundation to
Yeah.
then be able to have a great conference.
Yeah, I love that, and it sounds very engaging. And I love how you shared how not only will you share the framework, but you'll also equip the attendees to go back and be able to talk about that with their team as well, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I want people to leave with a clear vision, not only of their story from the past, but like,
Okay.
how do I want to write that next chapter?
Yeah.
And what do I want, if I have some healing to do, what do I want that to look like? But then also in my role as a leader, like, what's the story I want other people
Mm,
to tell about me? Like, which
yeah.
of those four characters
Yeah.
would other people say? And how do I want people to experience me? And how does that shape the way that I lead others and treat them and how I bring out the best in them?
When I think about attending a conference, this is the part I like, is because I feel like when we're at work, we don't really block time to really think about what we want our story to be. And when we
Mhm.
go to a conference, we get away and we get around all of these others. And of course, we're inspired to be like, okay, let's pause for a second and let's think about that. And that's what I like about that is that you're going to be able to say, hey, for the time you're here, we're away from work. Let's think about that. And then also maybe even put into practice to maybe make that a practice, right? Do you make that a practice for you?
I
Do you block time to think about your story?
daily.
I love that.
Yes. I think
Yeah, me
there's
too.
something to that. And one of the things that my father taught me, like growth
Okay.
rarely happens accidentally.
Ooh,
It
yes.
happens intentionally. And so we
Yes.
have to be intentional about blocking out that time on a regular basis so that we can reflect and be able to kind of shape that story and instead of things happening to us, like we're
Yes.
happening to them.
Oh, I love that intentionality. Now, how long is the pre-conference session? Is that like a half day? Is that like a 3 to 4 hour
It's
type
I,
session?
I think it's about 2.5, three
Yeah,
hours. It's a
right.
half
Okay,
day.
good, good,
Mhm.
good. So, hey, be sure and go on to, if you haven't registered yet, be sure and register for the conference, but click on that pre-conference session and spend some time with April. It sounds very inspiring, and I can't wait to hear the stories about that. I want to get into, okay, so then you finish and you get to enjoy the conference, but then you're going to come back for another session and you're going to be talking about heavenly chocolate. Now, who doesn't like chocolate? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
I'm a big Reese's fan. Transforming your self-talk. So when I saw Heavenly Chocolate, I got kind of excited. I'm like, oh, I like chocolate. But transforming your self-talk, that's a big thing. I think it's something we talk about, but we don't talk about is self-talk. Talk a little bit about this. When attendees see this, what should they like? What should they expect from coming into that session?
Well, we're going to kind of dig into thinking about what we're thinking about,
Okay.
right? That metacognition and and recognizing that we create around us what's going on inside us. That's a
Okay.
piece of leadership, right? And so if I have a lot of negative narratives, then there's
Yeah.
probably going to be a lot of ripple effects of that. If I have healthy self-talk, then that
Mm-hmm.
all not only is going to help me be centered and happy, but that's also going to help me lead in the same way.
Yeah.
And so as we go into it, I think one of the things we're going to do is again be intentional
Mm-hmm.
about taking a look at, well, what is that narrative in my head? What is the story I'm telling myself about things? Because the way that I think about them is going to impact how I feel about them and how I behave.
Yeah.
And one of the things that's unique about this is we're going to look at that through the lens of psychology.
Okay.
We're also going to blend in some elements of spirituality.
Okay.
And I think that's something we rarely do, especially in the business world. Oftentimes, I find so often people, when they're in their business mode, they really just want everything to be logical.
Right.
And let's keep feelings out of it. And a lot of people don't feel free to talk about what's going on at a heart level or a spiritual level
Mm-hmm.
in that business professional setting. And yet, I think sales and marketing people would be the first to tell you, like, people buy because of emotions. They
That's
buy
right.
because of things that they feel, right?
Right.
And by the way, if you're great at motivating teams, it's not the KPIs that
Mm-hmm.
motivate people, right? There's something
Right.
about the vision that you're giving them that sparks a feeling.
Ooh.
Well, our feelings are driven by our thoughts,
Mm-hmm.
and those are connected to our beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's really important to at least create a space, what you believe even about God, or if you don't believe in God, like that's
Mm-hmm.
impacting how you see yourself. That's impacting how you see others. That's impacting how you see the world. And all of those are then impacting how you feel, how you behave, how you lead, and the environment you're creating around you. And so
Yeah.
we're going to take some time to say, like, okay, let me look at my thought life. Is it sweet?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Or do I have some stinking thinking that, like, okay, I need to flush that. And and so we're going to use that chocolate theme. Yes, there will be actual chocolate
Oh,
for those
good.
who are wondering. This is not just a metaphor, people. We are gonna practice what we preach here and partake of that. So this is one of my favorite sessions to do because it's so much fun.
Okay.
It's playful and it's lighthearted, and yet it's really practical because people walk out with tools to be able to kind of sort through their thoughts and say, hey, is this a story that I want to keep telling myself?
Mm.
And if not, how do I flip the script on that? And how do I tell the difference between all these voices in my head?
Mm. I love that because this is going to be a little bit different because it is coming from a psychologist or psychology lens. And I think that's going to be really cool. I do want to ask you, I think self-talk's so important. We hear people say, I got to do something versus I get to do something. That's self-talk. Or
Hmm.
looking at the mirror every day and say, hey, it's going to be a great day, or, oh man, this is going to be a tough day. I even find myself doing that from time to time, and you need people around you to say, hey, it's going to be a good day. What are a couple of, I don't know, couple of tips, or is maybe there's a practice that you have, and I don't want you to share your presentation. Of course, we want people to attend your session, but what are a couple of tips that you see from people that do very well at self-talk?
I would say I'll give you one that's I found incredibly helpful,
Okay.
both for myself and the leaders I work with. And
Okay.
that is don't say any sentence that you can't end with. And that's the way I want it.
Ooh. Oh,
Right. And so for example, right, we're in the heat of the summer, right? So we can all complain about how hot it is.
yeah.
Or we can say, and thank God we have air conditioning. And that's the way I want it, right? You know? So being able to flip those things, that helps us stay in that positive place.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing that I'll leave as a nugget for your listeners, one of the things I was so impacted by was a quote by Francis Frangipane.
Okay.
And he said, anytime you don't have glistening hope, you're believing a lie.
Ooh.
And so that's become a practice now. If I notice, man, I do not have glistening hope about this situation, or man, this conversation or this meeting is coming up and I don't have glistening hope.
Mm.
I've had it happen when I had a tough workout in front of me and I was like, I am
Yeah.
not feeling glistening hope about this workout. I'm dreading it. Then I've challenged myself and I've said, okay, what would I have to believe? And how would I have to flip the script? What am I maybe believing that's not
Mm.
true? And how would I have to flip the script to be able to say something about it
Mm.
that causes me to say, wow, I have glistening hope. This is going to
Mm.
be good. It's
Mm.
it's not happening to me. It's happening for me,
Mm.
or I'm happening to it. And that's the way I want it.
Mm. That's so good. I love that. I feel like that's one of those things that you have to like almost like build your practice. Like, hey, I'm going to do this and I'm going to, block time or do something to make myself do this. And then eventually it becomes part of you, right?
It does,
it's a practice, right? A skill.
100%. And we build skill through reps. So we're going
Ooh,
to give you tools,
yeah,
right? And it's, I mean, it's like a muscle, just you
yeah.
train the mind as a muscle, just like you
This can be,
do in the gym.
yeah, this is gonna be so good. This is gonna
And
be so
so
good.
we're gonna have some fun and yet people are gonna get those reps in to begin building that grid
Yeah.
for happier, more hopeful thoughts.
Okay, I have a couple of questions that I want to ask around this too, and that is, okay, you have the session, everybody's all excited, and then they go back to work, and I don't know, how do people know? Let's just say fast forward 30, 60 days. And a lot of times people talk about, yeah, I go to that session and then, and then I get on with my work day or whatever the case may be. And then I don't really, how do I know I'm having success? I guess that's my question around that is for attendees that attend the session, they go back to work. What are some signs they might see that says, oh, you know what? I'm on the right track. I just need to keep doing what I'm doing. Any thoughts around that?
Yes, I think oftentimes people in my sessions have some kind of shift, some kind of
Okay.
breakthrough or epiphany or
Okay.
something, either something that they say, you know what, I'm going to leave that behind. I'm no longer going to do that. And we give
Hmm.
them an experiential way to actually kind of put a stake in the ground
Oh,
in that
good.
moment and to
Okay.
say, hey, I'm going to release that negativity for good.
Okay.
And I think when you experience something kind of viscerally, it
Yeah.
helps with that kind of lasting change, but then
Yeah.
also grabbing onto something positive. So especially in the heavenly chocolate, like you're going to have some heavenly chocolate that you're going to get to take with you as a reminder, right? And then I think
Hmm.
what happens is people then they use the lens that we've created in the session, and that thought begins to come back on a
Hmm.
regular basis. And so you learn to be able to practice those reps on your own because you've been given help and you've gotten to
Oh,
experience
good.
something. And I think like I see a change in people where they feel lighter,
Hmm.
right? They feel more free.
Hmm.
And when that breakthrough happens, because they've it's like the light has come on and once you see it, you can't unsee it.
Hmm. That is so
And so
good.
that change is lasting more
Oh
for people.
my goodness, this is going to be so good. I love that. Again, register for the conference, sign up for Heavenly Chocolate. You're going to leave away with some Heavenly Chocolate, transforming your self-talk. So good. Hey, I always like to ask speakers. You mentioned you love speaking.
Mhm.
When you finish a session, when you finish HR Southwest, what do you hope for? What do you hope people will say to you on their way out the door?
I want them to say I had fun.
Mm,
I feel more free and I feel lighter.
mm,
And I learned something that I can take with me,
uh,
and I'll give you an example.
okay.
The last time I did this heavenly chocolate talk, I had a woman who came to me and she had been carrying shame about
Okay.
something for 5 years.
Oh, okay.
And she said I had always heard this little voice saying, shame on you, shame on you.
Oh.
And by the time she left, it was shame off you.
Mm.
And you could tell this woman, her countenance, like her face had changed. She was brighter and lighter and happier. She came up to me later in the conference and said, by the way, I got another breakthrough. That framework that we were using,
Oh,
like more of it happened. And so seeing that joy, seeing somebody who had been carrying a weight
yeah.
and to see a shift that causes that weight to lift, like that's
Mm.
the home run for me,
Mm. I
seeing
want to
that
feel like
transformation.
that.
Yes. Well,
I'm
come have
ready.
some
I'm
heavenly
ready.
chocolate, Bruce.
Yes, I'm coming to your session. I cannot wait. Heavenly Chocolate, Transforming Your Self-Talk. And of course, you are leading a pre-conference session, Reclaim Your A Game, Overcoming Leadership Injury. Be sure and sign up for that as well at the HR Southwest. This is going to be so good. I cannot wait. Hey, I like to ask all my guests one last question before we shift to It's Time to Accelerate. And I always like to, I don't know, I like to hear their perspective on advice. And you shared some great advice today. You shared some advice from your dad. But have you ever been given any advice? It was so good. You just find yourself sharing that with others.
The thing that I have found is discovering this idea of peace through presence. And it was a journey for me to do that, right? I learned from some of my Navy SEAL friends, like the whole idea of slow is smooth and smooth is fast. But
Mm,
being able to lean into that, those things that are counterintuitive, that it's not about grinding more,
yeah.
but it's about stepping into the flow of grace.
Mm,
And so I think that's one of the big pieces is to say, how fast could I go if I was willing to slow down?
mm,
And it's been a journey because it's so countercultural, right? Hustle culture tells you you got to keep going and you got
yeah.
to, you got to do all of those things. And when you do all of those things, then finally you'll be at peace. And what I've learned is like, no, that's something that happens on the inside. It comes from love. And a friend of mine kind of taught me this concept of being able to, whatever that part of myself is that's resistant or struggling, being able to wrap that
Mm.
part in compassion and love. And then you watch the resistance melt and you get that peace and it comes through presence. If I could sum it up, that whole concept, Lily Tomlin probably put it best. She said, if you try harder and that didn't work, try softer.
That is that is so good. I have chills you just talking about that. Years ago, I always have a word of the year, and a few years ago, I had the word presence, and ever since that year, I've had the word presence every single year. I want to
Mm,
work on my presence with my
mm.
family, in the workplace, in my community, at my church, wherever I'm at. I just want to be present.
Bruce, I think it's quite interesting. Presence is my word for 2026 as well.
I knew we were connected somehow, and I've
Yes.
been trying to really, like, even on the podcast, just really trying to be present in the conversation, try to learn what you can, and try to figure out a way to connect that so you can share that with others. And this has been so good. I cannot wait not only to go to your session, to meet you in
Mhm.
Fort Worth. It's the annual HR Southwest Conference. We're celebrating 85 years of excellence in HR, October the 11th through the 13th. You are going to want to be here. It's the best networking event of the year, and it's going to be so good. Hey, April, I want to jump in here to the last segment. It's called "It's Time to Accelerate." I'm going to ask you
Okay.
some fun questions. You've been speaking, you've been going to different cities. You have a favorite city?
I would say, so Dallas is home to me, so I always love coming home to
Love
Dallas.
that. Okay.
But my favorite city is the one where my next adventure is,
Oh,
right? So last week I was in Colorado Springs and I got to stay in a castle. Like
isn't
how
that great?
fun is that, right?
Oh
So
my
it's
goodness.
it changes. I don't have one. It's wherever the adventure is.
I've been there. Toured the Air Force Base there, and it's amazing, amazing. I love it's the next one. It's the next one. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. Okay. I always say that leaders are continuous learners, and I feel
Mhm.
like you are that too. You're always trying to learn. What's something you want to learn or you've always wanted to learn?
I'm going to go a little bit out of the box here.
Okay.
I would love to learn to like vegetables.
I love that.
Yeah, I'm still working on that. So it's not so much a skill, or maybe it is, but we'll see. My life would be changed if I could
Aspirations.
learn to like vegetables.
I
It's been a
love
battle
that.
since I was a kid.
Oh my goodness, April. Come on now. Eat your vegetables.
Yeah.
Hey, what's something people may not know about you, April?
Something that might not be obvious on the
Okay.
surface. I love Argentine tango. I've danced it all around the world,
Oh,
and it has actually influenced my thinking about leadership
oh,
and followership.
wow.
Fun fact, you Google leadership and followership, there are 850 hits on leadership for every one on followership. And
Wow.
yet, I think any leader would tell you, like that art of followership is
Hmm.
half the magic. And so I've learned so many things on the floor that have helped me in leadership and life in
Hmm.
other areas, as well as just being a place of beauty and passion and feeling fully alive.
That is so good.
It's so much
I've had,
about connection, communication,
yeah.
trust. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I've had several guests on the show over the last couple of seasons that have talked about the importance of followership, and here you are talking about it too. And so, thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it. Okay, I have asked this question to all of my podcast guests from day one, and it's my final question. April, 10 years older. She's around the corner right now, and she's knocking at the door. You are going to get up and answer that door. What's 10 years older April going to tell you when you answer that door?
You make it, you get there. The
Hmm.
dreams come true.
Yeah.
So treat them as a matter of when, not if.
Mm, I love that. You know, everything, what do they say? Everything that's worthwhile is uphill. You're gonna make it. You just got to keep on walking uphill.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's windy.
You
Oh,
feel
this
like
is
a little cartoon
yes,
character,
I
right?
love that. Yes, that's right.
And and
So-
yet recognizing even in that you're being strengthened in the struggle.
yes.
And that's
Oh,
the way I want it.
strengthen in the struggle. I'll
Mhm.
write that down. I love that. This has been so good, April. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing a little bit about your sessions and your topics and getting the listeners all excited. I know right now people right now are typing in hrsouthwest.com so they can register for the conference. Be sure and sign up for April's pre-conference session. It's going to be so good. Hey, if somebody saw this on YouTube or they heard it on a podcast channel that they're listening to, and they said, you know what, I don't want to wait for the conference to connect with April. What's the best way to connect?
So they can find me on LinkedIn or my website, aprilminatry.com. And if you can't remember how to spell Minatry, go to draprilspeaks.com.
Oh,
Dr. April Speaks will get you to my speaking page, and then
love
you can
that.
link to the main homepage from there.
I
So
love that. I love that. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you. I appreciate you sharing your perspective, and I can't wait to see you in Fort Worth, Texas, April.
thank you, Bruce. I appreciate you having me here today, and I appreciate the work that you're doing to multiply impact by
Mm,
helping us build great leaders.
you're welcome. Have a great week. I appreciate you. I'll see you soon.
All right, thanks. Bye bye.